General Ryler Voss walked fast through the long silver hallway of the Empire Command Tower, his boots hitting the metal floor with sharp echoes, his heart heavy like a stone. He had spent the last 3 nights with no sleep, reading human reports, checking secret signals, and watching strange videos showing how humans were training, growing, preparing something dangerous. He knew the truth, he felt it in his bones. The Empire was walking toward a fire it could not control. But no one wanted to listen. He pushed open the tall golden doors of the High Council chamber, the place where the rulers of the Empire made decisions that shaped whole galaxies. 12 council members sat in a perfect circle, each one wearing bright red armor and long glowing crests on their helmets. They all turned their eyes toward him as he entered. The biggest one, Counselor Draker, leaned back and smirked. "General Ryler, you look like you wrestled with a star," he said. The room laughed softly. Ryler did not smile. "I bring urgent news that can save millions of our soldiers," he said, his voice tense. The laughter faded a little, but the arrogance remained on their faces. He placed a small cube on the center table and activated it. Blue light rose in the air, forming holograms of human ships, training fields, and hidden bases. The council stared, confused. "These are humans?" Counselor Shar Ka asked. "Yes," Ryler replied, "and they are not the weak species we once knew." He pointed to a large hologram of a hidden human facility. "They are building ships twice the size of ours, they are creating new weapons, they are training harder each year, they learn faster than any species we have ever seen." The council members exchanged looks of disbelief and amusement. Draker asked, "General, why bring this to us now? Humans have always been small, loud, and easy to control." Ryler felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "That is the mistake we keep making," he said. "Humans adapt, humans grow, humans do not stop when they are pushed, they get stronger." The council continued staring, unconvinced. Ryler changed the hologram, showing recordings from a destroyed Empire probe. The probe had been sent near Earth space. The last image it sent back showed a shadow, something huge, moving behind a moon. The council room grew quiet. Shar Ka narrowed her eyes. "What is that?" Ryler took a deep breath. "A new human battleship class, silent engines, no heat trail, armor thicker than our cruisers. They kept this hidden for 10 years. The chamber shook slightly, not from fear, but from surprise. "Still," Draker waved his hand. "Humans are like insects, General, they build things too big for their size, then they collapse under the weight." Ryler stepped forward, his voice rising. "No, Counselor, humans do not collapse, they survive. Every time we strike them, they rise twice as strong." The council began to murmur, some annoyed, some curious. But Ryler felt the time slipping away. He needed them to understand before it was too late. "I am not here to praise humans," he said sharply, "I am here to stop a disaster. I beg the council, do not attack human colonies anymore, do not provoke them, leave them alone." For a moment, silence ruled the chamber. Then Draker burst into laughter. A deep, loud, mocking laugh. The others joined him. "General Ryler, the Empire does not fear small creatures from a blue planet," Draker said, wiping his eyes, "and we will not change our plans because you are scared of human stories." Ryler clenched his fists. He had seen war, he had fought monsters larger than mountains, but he had never felt fear like this, not fear of humans, but fear of the Empire's blind pride. He pressed a button on the cube, showing the final piece of evidence. A message found on a hidden human channel. A single sentence, repeated over and over. A warning. A promise. The hologram read, "Do not touch Earth again." The council stared for a moment, then began laughing again. Draker spoke loudly. "We will touch whatever we want, Earth included," he said proudly, "and we will begin by crushing their new colony, the one on the outer belt." Ryler felt the floor drop under him, his stomach tight. "Please, do not do this," he whispered. "If you attack them now, you will start a war we cannot win." But the council had already made their decision. Shar-Ka stood up and raised her hand. Fleet 7 will depart tonight, they will erase the human colony before sunrise. The sound of metal chairs echoed as the council dismissed him. Ryler stood there for a moment, the blue hologram fading, the room becoming darker, colder, an empty place filled with arrogant men who had no idea what storm they had just called upon themselves. He finally stepped back. "I warned you," he said quietly, "I truly warned you." He turned and walked out of the chamber, his footsteps slow, heavy, filled with dread. Far above the Empire capital, Fleet 7 prepared for launch. Engines glowed red, weapons charged, soldiers cheered. They thought it would be an easy mission, a simple strike, a fast victory. But Ryler knew the truth. Humans were waiting. And humans never forgot. And humans never forgave. As he reached the balcony and looked into space, a single thought echoed in his mind. They think humans are weak, but they will learn the truth in blood. And at that exact moment, Fleet 7 jumped into hyperspace. Straight toward the human colony that would become the Empire's first graveyard. Hidden from all scanners, deep behind an asteroid field. Something enormous opened its eyes. Something human. Something powerful. Something ready. The storm had already begun. And the Empire had no idea. Fleet 7 arrived at the edge of the human colony in a flash of white-blue light, their ships tearing through hyperspace and falling into normal space with pride and confidence. The Empire officers stood tall on their bridges, weapons armed, systems humming, everyone expecting another easy victory. But when the stars settled around them, they saw something strange. Something wrong. Something empty. Commander Thalrex, the leader of Fleet 7, stared at his screen. "Where is the colony?" he asked. His voice shook slightly. The colony should have been visible, buildings, lights, transport routes, mining stations, but nothing appeared. The scanners flickered, trying to read the area. Finally the operator spoke. "Sir, the colony is there, but there are no lights, no power, no life signs." Thalrex frowned. "Impossible, humans always leave something running." He felt a flicker of confusion, but he hid it with anger. "Prepare landing teams," he ordered, "we will take the colony and show the council results." But before his command could be executed, another officer shouted. "Sir! We are detecting debris." The screen zoomed in, revealing floating metal pieces drifting near the colony's orbit, dark and twisted, like something was ripped apart by giants. A sudden silence filled the bridge. This was not normal. This was not what the Empire expected. Thalrex forced a smile. "Maybe the humans had an accident," he said, trying to calm his crew, "their structures are weak." But deep inside, even he did not believe those words. The ships slowly approached the human colony, their hulls glowing in the faint starlight. And then, the first real sign appeared. A human beacon device floated in the dark, flashing slowly, repeating the same message again and again. The operator read it aloud. His voice trembled. "Warning. Do not enter. Do not touch Earth." Every officer turned silent, the words crawling into their bones. Thalrex tried to respond. "Deactivate the beacon," he said. But before anyone moved, something else caught their eyes. A large object drifting through the shadows. A familiar shape. Twisted metal, burned armor, and the cracked wing symbol of the Empire. It was an Empire cruiser. But not from their fleet. This one had been destroyed earlier, without any reports or distress signals. Thalrex stepped closer to the screen. His throat felt tight. "Identify that ship," he whispered. The scanner beeped. "Sir, this is Cruiser Vorn 11. Everyone froze. Because Vorn 11 had been part of the Empire Scout Division. And they had disappeared 3 months ago with no explanation. Thalrex whispered to himself. So, this is what happened to them. But the horror was just beginning. More wreckage appeared, floating slowly, pieces of Empire ships, pieces of unknown ships, fragments of weapons melted down as if someone had held a star next to them. One officer said softly, "Sir, it looks like a battlefield." Thalrex stared at the floating graveyard. "But who did this?" he asked. His voice no longer confident. No longer arrogant. Just small. The answer came seconds later. The colony below flickered. Then powered on. Lights across the surface activated one by one. Not warm, human lights. But red, scanning lights. "Sir." Someone activated the colony. The operator shouted. The radar lit up with movement. Not human life signals. Not Empire signals. But something else. Something new. A large structure opened on the colony surface, like a giant mouth. A ramp rose, and from the darkness climbed a huge mechanical figure. Not a robot. Not a drone. But a human-made defense walker. Sharp, heavy, and covered in thick armor. Thalrex stepped back. Humans built that. More walkers climbed out, each one glowing with blue reactor cores, each one turning its head slowly toward the Empire ships. The operator shouted again. "Sir, human automated defenses detected, they are locking onto us." Before he could give an order, 10 beams of blue light shot into space, burning through the armor of the closest Empire destroyer, cutting the ship like it was made of paper. The destroyer exploded instantly. The bridge lights turned red. Sirens echoed everywhere. "Retreat! Retreat now!" Thalrex yelled. But it was too late. Another beam shot through a cruiser, slicing its center in one silent flash. The ship broke in half and fell apart, drifting as a destroyed shell. More human defenses activated on the colony. Missile launchers, railguns, and something strange, floating mines that moved by themselves, tracking Empire ships with cold precision. The fleet that arrived proudly now screamed in terror. Ships collided while trying to turn. Others exploded under heavy fire. Thalrex watched in horror as Fleet 7 was torn apart in minutes. His officers cried, shouted, begged for orders. But he had no orders left. He whispered to himself. General Ryler was right, humans are not weak. He finally sent a desperate message to Empire Capital. "This is Commander Thalrex of Fleet 7, humans have a hidden defense system, withdraw, do not attack their colonies, do not." The message cut off. A giant beam of blue-white light pierced his flagship from below. The ship cracked, flames spreading through every hallway. Thalrex felt the floor shake, alarms screaming. But the last thing he saw before the explosion consumed him was a human message flashing across his screen. This was only a warning. Fleet 7 vanished in silence. No survivors. No bodies. No ships. Just a silent graveyard drifting around a quiet human colony. Hours later, far away on the Empire capital world, General Ryler received the final broken transmission. He closed his eyes. A deep sadness fell over him. He whispered. They never listen, and now the real storm is coming. And in the darkness of deep space, something else moved. Quiet, fast, cold. A human ship. Watching. Studying. Preparing. The Empire had taken the first step into the fire. And now humans were awake. General Ryler Voss stood alone in his dim office, the broken message from Fleet 7 playing again and again on the screen. Static, screams, alarms, and Thalrex's final terrified words. Humans, hidden system, do not attack, do not. Ryler's heart sank deeper with every replay. Fleet 7 was gone, completely gone. Not damaged, not lost. Erased. The Empire hallways outside buzzed with noise, officers shouting, technicians running, council guards rushing around in panic, but none of them wanted to face the real truth. Ryler whispered. This is only the beginning. Before he could send a report, the command tower trembled, and a sharp alarm echoed through every floor. A red warning flashed on the walls. Unidentified signatures approaching outer Empire borders. Ryler rushed to the observation deck. Hundreds of officers crowded around the giant screen, all staring with wide, confused eyes. A young officer pointed at the radar. Sir, these signatures, we have never seen this pattern before. Ryler leaned closer. Dozens of dots blinked on the map, moving silently, smoothly, in perfect formation. No Empire ship moved like that. No alien species moved like that. He asked. Are they sending transmissions? The officer shook his head. Nothing, sir, total silence. Ryler felt a chill run through him. Humans. It had to be humans. But this was not normal human movement. This was something different, something advanced, something powerful. Then the screen shifted to a live feed. A camera from an Empire border station zoomed into space. And everyone gasped. Black shapes emerged from the darkness. Long, sharp, ghost-like ships with no running lights, no engine glow, no sound. They moved like shadows across the stars, the vacuum around them bending slightly from their engine fields. The room fell silent. Someone whispered. What are those? Ryler spoke quietly but firmly. These are human ships. Shock swept across the observation deck. Officers stepped back, some trembling. But Ryler did not move. He only watched. The ships were unlike anything the Empire had ever studied. Long armored bodies, smooth black plating, strange blue lines glowing faintly like veins. They reflected almost no light. They didn't leave engine trails. They didn't appear in many scanners. They looked like they were made from shadows and steel. The Empire had feared human growth. But no one expected this. An officer shouted. Sir. They have surrounded Border Station 9. Everyone looked again. The Shadow Fleet formed a perfect circle. Hundreds of ships locking into position with machine accuracy. The station commander's panicked voice came through speakers. This is Station 9. Unknown fleet detected, attempting communication. Before he finished, one of the human ships moved closer, so close the metal surface filled half the screen. A giant round symbol glowed on its side. A blue circle with a single white line through it. The mark of Earth's new defense program. The station commander spoke again. They are not firing, maybe they want to negotiate. Then a message flashed across every Empire monitor. A short, simple message, written in calm, clean text. We disabled Fleet 7. We will disable anyone else who enters human space. Leave us alone. The room froze. Officers stared at each other in fear and disbelief. Ryler whispered. Humans do not speak loudly. They speak once. The council stormed into the observation deck, their armor shining, their voices sharp. Draker shouted. What is happening here? Why are human ships entering our borders? Ryler turned slowly. Because you sent Fleet 7, he said, and now humans are showing you their strength. Sharkha snarled. Humans do not have this kind of technology. Ryler pointed at the screen. They do now. The Emperor himself appeared on a high balcony above them. Tall, cold, towering in golden armor. His voice echoed across the chamber. Send Fleet 4 and Fleet 12. Crush them. Ryler stepped forward. Your Majesty, please, this is not the same enemy we fought before. But the Emperor raised his hand, silencing him. They destroyed an Empire fleet. They insulted us. They will pay. Orders were sent instantly. 2 massive Empire fleets moved toward the border. Thousands of ships. Hundreds of cruisers. Dozens of dreadnoughts. The largest deployment the Empire had made in years. As the Empire armadas jumped through hyperspace, Ryler watched the map. He knew the truth. This was not a battle the Empire could win. Minutes later, the Empire fleets arrived at the border station. And came face to face with the human Shadow Fleet. The Empire commanders began shouting orders. Form attack lines. Lock weapons. Advance. But the human ships did nothing. They didn't move. They didn't fire. They only watched. Like predators waiting. Studying their prey. Choosing the perfect moment. Then. Every Empire ship's control screen flickered. Lights blinked out. Engines stalled. Weapon systems died silently. The Empire fleets floated helplessly in space. Paralyzed. Dead. Not one shot fired. A human AI voice spoke across every Empire channel. Soft, calm, emotionless. We disabled your fleets without damage. This is your last warning. Do not enter human space again. And just like that. The Shadow Fleet vanished into hyperspace. Gone like ghosts. Leaving the Empire armadas drifting powerless. The observation deck shook with fear and confusion. Ryler closed his eyes. He understood now. Humans were no longer just a species. They were a force. Quiet, watching, unstoppable. And the Empire had awakened something that would never sleep again. The Empire capital had never been this loud before. Sirens shook every tower, soldiers ran through the halls, officers shouted, screens flashed red, and the air tasted like fear. But the council tried to hide their panic under anger. They blamed each other, blamed their fleets, blamed their scanners, anyone except themselves. And above them all, the Emperor stood on his high balcony, silent, cold, and furious. He stared at the map showing the Empire borders, where the human Shadow Fleet had disabled thousands of ships without firing a single shot. Finally, he growled. Prepare the Grand Armada. Every dreadnought. Every Titan-class ship. Every weapon. We end this insult today. The council looked shocked. No one had ever ordered the Grand Armada before. It was the Empire's ultimate force, a power they kept hidden for centuries. But pride was stronger than logic. Stronger than warnings. Stronger than fear. Within hours, the Empire's skies turned black as thousands of warships rose from their hangars. Massive Titan-class ships, so large they could block sunlight, took their positions at the front. Dreadnoughts formed thick iron walls behind them. Cruisers and destroyers filled the spaces like a storm made of metal. The Grand Armada moved into hyperspace like a giant roaring beast. Their goal was simple. Destroy the humans. General Ryler stood alone on a small platform watching the massive fleet disappear into the star field. His heart felt heavy, heavier than it ever had. He whispered to himself. You are not going to crush them. You are marching into a trap. Hours later, the Grand Armada dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's outer defense zone. Every ship in the Armada formed a tight battle formation, weapons hot, engines burning bright. The fleet commander spoke loudly. All ships, prepare forward cannons. We will strike before humans can respond. But the officers on the bridge froze. On the main screen. Nothing. No enemy ships. No human defense posts. No satellites. Only empty space. The commander frowned. Where is their fleet? Where are their defenses? A young officer whispered. Sir, maybe they ran away. But Ryler, watching the live feed from the capital, knew the truth. Humans never ran. They observed. They waited. They chose the right moment. And that moment arrived. The empty space behind the Empire fleet twisted, like a giant tearing holes in the universe. A bright white-blue wave rippled out. Every sensor screamed. Every radar exploded with signals. Then, the largest human fleet ever seen emerged from hyperspace. Not in front. Not from the sides. But behind the Empire Armada. Blocking their retreat. Closing every path. Surrounding them completely. The officers stared in horror as the legendary ships appeared. Earth's Grand Fleet. A force humanity had built silently for 20 years. Hidden from the galaxy. Forged from Earth steel. Powered by reactors no one had ever studied before. Human dreadnoughts glowed with bright blue lines. Human Titan ships moved like dark mountains. Smaller strike ships danced between them like knives made of light. One Empire officer whispered with shaking lips. They are bigger than us, faster, stronger. Another froze. Sir, their reactors are off the charts, we cannot scan them fully. Before the commander could reply, a human message appeared on every screen. This is Earth. You attacked our colony. You ignored our warnings. We will now protect our people. The commander shouted. All ships, turn. Form defensive lines. We attack first. But the human fleet had already moved. Silent, smooth, terrifyingly precise. Human strike cruisers shot forward like arrows of light. They didn't fire missiles. They didn't launch torpedoes. Their weapons were something else, something new. A beam of cold white light shot from a human dreadnought and cut straight through an Empire Titan-class ship. The Titan cracked like glass. Split in half. And exploded into a burning cloud. The Empire officers screamed. No one had ever destroyed a Titan-class ship with a single hit, not in the entire history of the Empire. Another beam fired. Another Titan fell. And another. The Empire formation collapsed in seconds. Cruisers crashed into each other. Destroyers tried to escape but ran directly into human ships waiting in perfect ambush positions. Human fighters moved like ghosts. Fast, sharp, impossible to lock onto. They sliced through Empire shields like they were made of air. The commander shouted. Retreat. Retreat now. But every escape route was blocked by human ships. 10, 20, 50 human ships formed a wall of steel behind them. The Empire couldn't run. Couldn't hide. Couldn't even understand what was happening. Then something even stranger happened. Human ships stopped firing for a moment. They released thousands of tiny drones that spread across the battlefield in a glowing blue wave. When the drones touched Empire ships, their systems shut down instantly. Engines died. Weapons froze. Shields dropped. Communications vanished. The entire Grand Armada became a silent metal graveyard, drifting helplessly. The human flagship moved forward. A massive ship with a glowing blue core. The biggest human ship ever built. It broadcast a final message. We will not destroy you today. We want you to understand your mistake. Do not touch humanity again. The message ended. And the human Grand Fleet disappeared back into hyperspace as fast as it had arrived. Leaving behind the shattered remains of the largest Empire Armada ever formed. General Ryler watched everything from the capital. His chest tight. His eyes wide. His fear real. He whispered. The day the Empire fleets fell. Earth finally showed its teeth. The Empire capital was silent for the first time in centuries. No war horns. No marching boots. No command voices. Only quiet fear spreading through every tower, every street, every home. The Grand Armada, the pride of their people, had been destroyed or disabled within minutes. Across the galaxy, Empire citizens whispered. Humans did this. The council chamber filled slowly. The rulers who once laughed now entered with pale faces, shaking hands, and eyes full of disbelief. For the first time, their arrogance had melted into panic. General Ryler stood at the edge of the room, watching them silently. He remembered the first time he warned them. He remembered their laughter, their insults, their pride. And now all that pride lay broken in the void of space, floating with dead ships and silent wreckage. The Emperor entered last. His golden armor dulled. His steps slow. His voice low with anger and fear. "Report," he said. An officer stepped forward. "Your Majesty, 90% of the Grand Armada is either destroyed or disabled, our Titan-class fleet is gone, our dreadnought line is broken, our border stations cannot defend themselves." A heavy silence followed. The Emperor's jaw tightened. "How many casualties?" The officer looked down. "Too many to count, Your Majesty." The council members lowered their heads in shame. Even Draker, who once mocked humans, could not speak. His lips trembled. His armor shook. Finally, the Emperor whispered the question none of them wanted to hear. "Where are the humans now?" Before the officer could answer, light burst across the sky above the capital. Alarms blared. Guards ran. Screens turned white. Earth's fleet had arrived. Not the Shadow Fleet. Not the fast cruisers. Not the scouts. But Earth's Grand Fleet. The largest human force ever seen. Ships so tall they blocked starlight. Engines glowing bright blue. Weapons quiet but ready. Thousands of vessels forming a dark ring around the Empire world. The Emperor stared upward through the glass ceiling. His heart beat loud in his ears. A voice crackled through every speaker in the capital. "Calm, clear, human. This is Admiral Rowan Hale of Earth's Unified Defense Fleet. We come to speak, not to conquer." The council gasped. Ryler exhaled deeply. Humans were giving them one last chance. A chance they did not deserve. A human shuttle descended slowly toward the central palace. Elegant, smooth, shining silver. It landed without fear, without escort, without hesitation. The Empire guards raised their weapons. But Ryler stepped forward. "Lower your arms," he said. His voice steady. "If humans wanted to destroy us, they already would have." The guards obeyed. The shuttle door opened. A group of human officers stepped out. Their uniforms simple but powerful. Their faces calm. Their eyes sharp. And at their center walked Admiral Rowan Hale, a tall man with silver hair and quiet strength in his steps. The Emperor approached him with a trembling voice. "Why are you here? To finish us?" Admiral Hale shook his head slowly. "No. Earth does not destroy without reason." His voice echoed through the palace, steady as stone. "We warned you. We begged for peace. You refused. You struck our people. So we defended our own." The Emperor swallowed hard. His eyes dropped. His pride broken. What do you want from us now?" Admiral Hale looked around the Grand Hall. His expression unreadable. "We want you to stop attacking humans. We want you to stop invading human space. We want you to respect the borders you ignored for centuries." The council exchanged shocked looks. Humans were not here to conquer. Not to demand payment. Not to enslave them. They only wanted safety. Then Admiral Hale added one more thing. His voice firm. "And we want you to remember this day." Ryler stepped forward suddenly, bowing his head. "Admiral. I warned them. I told them to leave humans alone." Hale studied him for a moment. Then nodded slowly. "Yes. You understood us. And your voice saved your world today." The Emperor looked at Ryler with shame. he finally realized the truth. The man they mocked, the one they ignored, had been right all along. Admiral Hale turned back to the council. Sign a peace treaty with Earth, and this ends today. Refuse, and your empire will not survive another battle. The council did not argue. They signed. Every hand shaking, every face pale. Because they knew. The empire had faced a power they could not measure. Once the treaty was complete, human officers stepped back. The Grand Fleet outside slowly prepared to leave. Admiral Hale gave a final message before boarding his shuttle. Earth does not want war. But Earth will defend its own. Remember that, and we will never be enemies again. The humans left quietly. Their fleet vanishing into hyperspace like a storm fading over the horizon. General Ryler watched them disappear. A strange mix of relief and sadness in his chest. The Empire had finally learned the price of arrogance. Not in gold. Not in territory. But in blood and pride. And on that day, every world, friend and enemy alike, whispered the same truth across the stars. Do not touch Earth.